everyone, welcome back to Kat's Book Corner, where we talk about all things book and bookish. Today's going to be a little bit different than my normal videos because I've never done this before, and I'm a little curious to see where this will go. But I do have thoughts on the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. So this is going to be my spoiler and unspoiler thoughts about the first book, which is The Hedge Knight, which I read before the show, and my thoughts on that, spoiler and non-spoiler, as most of my book reviews are. And then I'm going to talk about the show in the same way. So I'll do the non-spoilers first, like I normally do. Start with the book, then go to the show. And then it'll be spoiler thoughts of the book and the show. Alright, but let's get into this. My spoiler thoughts on The Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, specifically the first novella, which is The Hedge Knight. This was a 4 stars for me. I really, really liked it. I don't know, it felt different than other Game of Thrones works. Like, it had, I don't want to say it had more heart, because Game of Thrones does have a lot of heart. The Song of Ice and Fire, there is a lot of heart, and there's a lot of, themes in that book that I really like. But this one, it felt sweet, if that makes sense. It felt honest in its delivery. Not that other Game of Thrones isn't honest, because it's, dark and gritty and interesting with the political intrigue and stuff. But it felt nice, I guess, because Game of Thrones normally isn't nice. And it felt really, really heartfelt. All the characters, there weren't many who had a different agenda than what we were told. Which was nice, that there could be some stories like this in the Song of the Ice and Fire universe, and they still feel like they fit in that universe. Which was really, really, nice to see that they fit. Because I wouldn't have expected that, because I watched the Game of Thrones show. Actually, no, I watched the first season of House of the Dragon when it came out, because my dad thought I would like it. Then I watched all of Game of Thrones. And then I read the books. So, there is that. But I knew this was a book before. I didn't know that Game of Thrones had books before the show, since I've only ever heard about the show, so I read the books after. But I read The Hedge Knight, because I knew it was a book before. I read that before I watched the first season, which I'm probably going to read the second novella before the second season comes out. But overall, I really liked the book. There were things that caught me off guard, which I'll talk about my spoiler thoughts. There were things that definitely caught me off guard. The characters were just so sweet. Egg and Dunk are just 2 of the sweetest characters in that universe, which are just, it's so nice that they're there. Let's see, what else did I like about it? Well, I liked getting to know more Targaryens, because the Targaryen lineage and dynasty is always fascinating to me. Because we barely learn about it in the Game of Thrones universe, because there's only 2 maybe at the start of it there's 4 Targaryens alive. I'm not going to spoil it, but there could be maybe at least 4 or 5 still alive in the beginning of the first book. But telling you that would spoil other books, so I'm not going to say which ones, but there is that. And, we get to see them on the throne, but after the dragons. There aren't dragons here, they're on the throne without the dragons. And it was just, I don't know, it was nice to read about them. Because I really, really did like that. Of course, I know some outside stuff too. Because when I fell into the Game of Thrones rabbit hole, 2 years ago, I want to say, because I started reading it when I was a freshman. So 2 years ago, I fell down that rabbit hole of, and so I started doing a lot of outside research to little bits and pieces that would interest me from that universe. So I know some things, which I'll talk about in my spoiler section, that kind of made this read kind of fun for me. Let's see. I don't know, I just thought Dunk was really, really sweet. He was just so honest and nice, which isn't, we don't get that a lot in a character from the Song of Ice and Fire that like we're in their head for. Like Ned is one, like he's nice, but he's not sweet. I mean, I guess you could say at the beginning Sansa's sweet, but she's also a child, so it's like we're kind of like throwing stones at that point. Like we need someone who's nice and sweet, who's like a man who grew up in this awful world that the Song of Ice and Fire has said that Westeros is. But there are parts of it that are nice, that he could have seen the goodness of it, even though he isn't from it originally. And I really, really liked that. It was nice. Okay, now moving on to my non-spoiler thoughts of the show. One, I actually really liked the show. It felt to me a very good adaptation. There are things that they changed that I didn't like, but a lot of what they did, I kind of understood why they would have done that. It's, for anyone who doesn't know or watch the show, it's a 6-episode, each episode is around 30 minutes, that follows the first book in the Seven Kingdoms novellas, which is The Hedge Knight. You follow Dunk and Egg, which is, it's good. It was a very faithful adaptation. A lot of what we were seeing was in the book, and some of the lines were literally word for word from the book, which I really, really liked. Let's see, what else? The casting I thought was wonderful. Like, they are exactly how I imagined Dunk and Egg to look. And I think his name is Dexter, the guy who played Egg, that kid. Amazing actor. He was perfect. I loved that. And it was amazingly cast. All of the people were casted correctly, which is, I'll talk about my spoiler section, but I have a beef with some of House of Dragon stuff because of how they casted. But otherwise, it was actually like really, really good. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I liked some of the stuff they added. Some of the stuff they added felt necessary, if that makes sense, because it helps ground the story a bit more. It gives you a bit more that you didn't get before. And some of the stuff they added, I didn't like. I'll just say it there. I didn't like some of the stuff they added. Some of the stuff could not have been added, or they didn't have to change it. Though, I am curious to see where they would take one of the changes that they made. And George has said he wants to write more novellas. And I am not 100% sure that the novellas take place completely chronologically. Like, I know The Hedge Knight is obviously first. But I don't know if the other two novellas take place directly after The Hedge Knight, or if there's some space in between that they could work with. Like, George has said he wants to write more of the Night of the Seven Kingdoms because he likes writing those ones. And he has, like, more ideas for them. And they're short, which I totally get. I always write the shorter stuff before I try and go into longer stuff I'm trying to write. With, like, school and stuff that I just write on my own. So I totally get, like, trying to write the short stuff first. It's more enjoyable, I will say. So I get that. So, like, maybe there's, like, something that he could add that could theoretically make this make more sense. Or if he just wants to see where it goes if you change something at the end. Because he is, I think, involved heavily with this project. He's not directing or anything, but I think he is heavily involved with the adaptation. Which I like. Because if he's here, use him. This is his story. These are his, like, characters. He knows them better than anyone. So it was good. I really liked it. Some of the scenes were just amazing, like exactly what I imagined. Some might wanted something more, but we can't get everything we want. But otherwise, It was really, really good. Though I will say, I think some of the episodes could have been expanded a bit more. Like, maybe give, 40 minutes for the episodes so we could fit some of the stuff that they, cut out. Which would have made it a little bit better, in my opinion. But all in all, I really did enjoy it, and I am looking forward to the second season. It's not like House of the Dragon, where they have completely fallen off the rails of the knowledge that they have, and they've just doing whatever they want now. I'm still going to watch it, because I kind of enjoy it. I'm, not seeing it as in the world of the Song of Ice and Fire. I'm just seeing it as, a show that I kind of like. So, I'm not doing that. So, we'll see, but oh no, I really, really did like the show, and I am excited for season 2 whenever that comes out. I hope it takes less time than House of the Dragon, because we don't want Egg to grow up too much. Okay. Moving on to my spoiler thoughts of the book. The book was amazing. It was 4 stars, as I said. But Baelor Targaryen, who was a nice Targaryen, and that barely ever happens. I mean, we have Dany. She's a good Targaryen in the books. So far, at least. I don't think she's going to go crazy. I really don't. That's not part of where the story is heading, in my opinion, if we ever get them finished, which I don't mind if we don't. I kind of like where we have stopped. But he's a nice Targaryen, and we get to meet his son, Vaelor, I think. So many names. And we meet Maekar, which is his younger brother, because he has 2 other brothers who aren't there, which is Rhaegal and Aerys, I think. So he's Maekar, and Maekar's 3 sons are there. Master Aemond is at the Citadel already, because he's learning to be a maester, i.e. he goes to the wall. So there is that. He's missing his oldest and his youngest, which is Aegon and Daeron. And we meet Aerion, who is a major a-hole. But he's always so fun. It's time to face the dragon. I wonder where Viserys got that from. And the dragon should never lose. I'm because he thinks he's a dragon. I mean, it would have been better if he thought it was an apple. That line is in the book, and I really, really like it. I think it's funny. Let's see. What else did I really like? Oh, I think I liked Baelor's death in the books a bit more, because his head just opens. And that shocked me. Him dying shocked me. And then I know it should have, because media literacy, it makes sense that he'd be the one who dies. And also, according to the vision, a dragon falling on Dunk, the biggest dragon in the realm right now, besides the king, is Daeron. So, because all the other dragons, the real dragons, are dead. But the sigil of House Targaryen is a dragon, so the biggest dragon besides the king is Daeron. And even, I would say he would be bigger than the king, because everyone actually likes him, and no one really likes this king because of the Blackfyre rebellions. But, I don't know. I liked it. I really, really liked it. Daeron was very interesting, because he has visions, so that's why he drinks. Very interesting. Egg is fun. I knew going in that he was Aegon, so it wasn't really a big reveal to me, oh, this is Aegon. I knew that. Let's see. Ooh, a trial by 7 was a very interesting choice. Also because Aerion didn't want to fight him by himself, because he knew he'd lose. And us not completely being confirmed that Dunk is a knight, because 1, he doesn't specifically say when he was knighted before Arlen died, and 2, he doesn't think he can knight Raymond, because he kind of runs away when Raymond asks to be knighted, and then Lionel has to do it. That happens in the books too. Let's see. I liked the ending of it where Maekar literally asks him that you should take my son, which he does in the show too, but they also change it in the show, which I don't like, to where he doesn't explicitly give his permission to Egg, and Egg runs away. But in this one, he does seemingly. I haven't read the second one, so I don't know if they've changed it too much. I just know that he does give his permission to Egg to actually go with Dunk. Let's see. Tansel is really nice. Like, the way they flirt with each other is fun. Steely Pate, always wonderful. Like, he's actually, like, a good person. And actually, like, watching the jousts, because there aren't many jousts in the show, but actually, like, seeing the jousts and getting to know not really, but, like, kind of understanding who would be on his Knight of the Seven. Like, we see Humphrey and Beesbury and the guy with one eye. Like, we see them actually fight, and we see him, like, we see his break his leg in the show, but we actually see them all otherwise fight. We see Lionel, we see Raymond, we see Dunk, and who's his last person? And Baylor. We see them all fight. Which, I don't know. I really liked that part. Let's see, what else did I like? I don't know. Overall, I thought, like, a lot of it was, like, really, really good. So, okay, moving on to my spoiler thoughts of the show. I did not like the ending. I'll put it there. The ending with Dunk and Egg, perfect. Saying it's 9 kingdoms instead of 7, perfect. Because I've always had that of being like it kind of is 9 kingdoms. Because it was settled before Aegon conquered, I think, the Iron Islands and the Dorne, so 7. So, that's why it's 7. They got the other 2 later. But I didn't like the ending where Maekar didn't know that Egg left. Because in the books, he does know. And it changes Maekar's growth. It really does. Like, in the show, they set it up as, like, a wonderful growth for him to be like, oh, my sons are missing. I'm angry. I want my sons back. To getting his sons back. I mean, like, my sons are all awful people. Like, Daeron drinks. Aerion is a monster. And Aegon might turn into a monster if he stays in the house. Because of him trying to kill Aerion later. Sending him off makes a lot of sense. Being like, he's my son, but he's going to turn into a monster if he stays here. Because, one, I'm not a good dad, considering how the rest of my children have turned out. And the kingdom and royal treatment isn't exactly helping them turn into better people. But it doesn't happen. Like, he doesn't know that he left, which I don't like. I like that he knows where he left. I did like us getting to know a bit more of his 7, because we know Daeron a bit more. We know Lionel a hell of a lot more, which I loved. Lionel, I think, became my favorite character as soon as he showed up on screen. He was amazing. I loved him. He's like, I forgot what I said. Like, I kind of loved that. We meet Raymond a bit more. And in the book, the betrayal between Raymond and the Fossaways, where the older Fossaway says he'll fight with Dunk and then he switches. I didn't see that coming in the book, but obviously in the show, because I read the book, I knew it was coming. So, like, every time, because my dad, I don't know if he saw it coming. I was just watching the entire time, like, what do you think of the older Fossaway? Like, knowing it was coming. I really liked that. And then Raymond being like, knight me. And then we also don't know in this, which I really like how they kept it up to interpretation, that Dunk isn't a knight. Like, he could be. Like, he could have been knighted. But it seems like he lied in his story to the steward that there was only a robin in the tree, and that happened after Ireland died, so how could he have been knighted? Or saying that he can't knight Raymond, and Lionel has to do it. But, like, and then the flashback, we see, like, Ireland, like, shrugging, like, I don't know. Or, like, at the very, very end, when we think Ireland's dying, and he says, oh, and I always finish his stories after he comes back, after Dunk says, why didn't you knight me? Like, they're in the same spot Ireland died, so maybe he knighted him directly right before he died. Or he didn't, which I think is perfectly okay with us not knowing if he's knighted or not. Because he doesn't need to be knighted for him to be noble. Like, he's a knight who's not a knight, which I really, really like. Because I'm of the opinion that he's not a real knight, but he is a knight. Like, he does the most noble things that no one besides a knight should do. Well, actually, everyone should do these things that he does, because he's honorable and noble, and he does what a good person should do. He does what a knight should do. He's what a knight is. Like, you look up at a dictionary what a knight is, you see a picture of Dunk. So there is that, which I really liked. I wish Tansel was giving a bit more screen time, because she could have been. I also missed that we got less of the small folk remembering the vows that Dunk, like, he's a knight who remembered his vows. Like, we kind of missed that. And there was a lot less jousting. Like, we didn't really get to know any of the other 7. Like, when both the Humphreys died, you're like, Beesby and Humphrey, you're like, okay. The guy who broke his leg and the guy we never spent time with, sure, they died. But like when Baelor dies, you're like hit with it because we know Baelor now. And Maekar being like so sad, being like, everyone will always say that I killed my brother. Even though he didn't mean to. Because I really, really like, because you can see when the hit hits in the show. You don't see it in the book because obviously we're in Dunk's POV. But you see it in the show. And it's right after, I think, Dunk's on top of Arion. And I think he says, I yield. But no one else can hear him yet. So Dunk like keeps kind of hitting him a little bit. And then you see Maekar being like, oh, that's my son. And he tries to run towards him. But he's stopped by, I forget who he stopped by. And he hits them off, and he hits Baelor in the back of the head with the mace. That's what kills him. I.e., the match was done. And he's just a father trying to find his son. It's really, really heartbreaking. Even though he knows his son isn't a good person. But it's still his son. So he'll always fight for him. It's very touching. And I really liked that. The death was good too, because he just takes up, you're like, oh no. Darion was fun in this. I liked Darion. He was really fun. Egg, amazing. Loved him. I think they made Dunk a little dumber in here, but I guess that was fine. I don't particularly care because he still said some of the same things he said in the book, so he wasn't too dumber. But he felt a little dumber. Though maybe it's because we're just seeing outside perspectives. And he is smarter in his head, but he doesn't say smart things out loud. So there's that. Let's see. What else did I like? I liked... I don't know. I mean, I wish there was more jousting, obviously, because that was, such a big part of the book. That's half the first parts of the book. It's just jousting and Egg telling Dunk all these people so that he knows who they are later. Which was really nice. And I'm of the opinion, I thought it was really funny when, excuse my language, but, when the Game of Thrones song starts playing in the beginning and Dunk just shits. Amazing. I thought that was hilarious. And then you play the Game of Thrones music, in actuality, when Baelor says, I will take Sir Duncan's side. Yes, that is when you play the music. That is when it is earned. That is when that music is earned. So I liked that. And, the whole Baelor conversation. I love that in the book, too, but I love it particularly in the show. Where he says he was in my father's armor. Because Baelor says that in the book, but Valar says it in the show, which I liked. How many sons can say their father died in theirs? It's just, it's really heartbreaking. Because now he's the heir to the throne. Even though Baelor would have been an amazing king, it would have changed the entire trajectory of the A Song of Ice and Fire world, of Westeros, if Baelor actually became king. Just, Okay, now we're getting into my extremely happy thing I have about the show. They made Baelor and his son have dark hair. I mean, they also give him heterochromia because the actor who plays Baelor had heterochromia, so they gave it to Baelor too, but I really like that too. But they gave him dark hair, which he's a Targaryen with dark hair, and normally nothing good happens to Targaryens with black hair or dark hair, and it never happens often because the Targaryen gene is very strong, but you know whose gene is stronger? Baratheons and the Dornish, which is how Baelor got his dark hair because his mother was a Dornish woman. But I have this gripe, this big gripe about House of the Dragon. So if you haven't watched House of the Dragon, some spoilers here. I don't know if they're too major, but they are some, so warning. Rhaenys, she is supposed to have dark hair because one of her parents, I think it was her mother, was a Baratheon, meaning she has dark hair, which means her son and daughter should also have dark hair, meaning it is harder for people to figure out that Rhaenyra's kids are bastards because they should all have dark hair. It shouldn't be a complete surprise when they are born with dark hair. They shouldn't have been born one, because her husband, who, even if we know she's not sleeping with him because she doesn't really like him that much, they're friends, but she doesn't really like him that much, they all look enough like him to pass Like, because no one's going to call them out as bastards, even though we know the truth, because they have dark hair. They look like the father, even though he's not the father. And it bothers me, because it's very easy in the show that you can point out, oh, these are bastards, because both parents had light white hair. But in this, one has white hair, and the other has black hair from a Baratheon gene, which is very strong, as we are told in the Game of Thrones universe. Because that's how Ned figures out that Cersei's kids are bastards. So that annoys me. But I'm glad they gave the dark hair to Baelor. I really, really liked that. Let's see what else. I was going to say something else, and I kind of forgot what it was. Let's see. No, I forget what I was going to say. But, I don't know. I really liked that they gave him dark hair. I think it fit really well with the story we were trying to tell, and it was very honest to the book. Like, the source material that we had, it was really, really good. And I really liked that. But otherwise, I remembered. This is spoilers for the Song of Ice and Fire universe. If you don't want to be spoiled, don't watch this part. I kind of liked how they teased Summerhall. I said it, I kind of liked how they teased Summerhall, because that's not in the book. The visions that Dunk and Aegon get from the fortune teller, that is not in the book. But like, we know Dunk from Game of Thrones, because he is mentioned a couple times, that he is in the Knight's book. Like, he's in the Book of the White, and he has like 4 whole pages all to himself, which means he's a very good Kingsguard. I think he becomes commander, and we know Egg becomes king, which is so crazy considering he's the 4th son of a 4th son, never supposed to be king, but he becomes king. And when she says people cheer for his death, the nobles cheer for his death, because he was very much the people's king. Like, he loved the commoners. Like, he wanted to help them. He wanted to create reform. But he couldn't do that because no one wanted to follow his ideals, his roles. Which is why Summerhall happened. And we don't know much about Summerhall. We know that plenty of Targaryens were there. It was where Rhaegar was born. And someone wanted to bring back the dragons. Everyone suspects it was Aegon, because he's like, if I had dragons, I could get the nobles to fall in line and I can help the commoners. Which is a very noble idea. It's just, I don't think that's why the dragons are here. So, wildfire, dragons, boom. Everyone goes bye-bye except for like a handful of people. And then everyone cheers for, the nobles cheer for Aegon's death, which is just, it's so sad, because he was actually like a surprisingly progressive king with all of the changes he wanted to make to the commoners. Which is just, it's so sad. And he even names his oldest son Duncan, even though he tries to abdicate the throne and run away with Jenny of the Old Stones. Which, I kind of like that he named his first son Duncan, because that means the friendship that he has with Dunk lasts almost his entire life. Which is just, it's so sweet and so cute, and I kind of really love it. But I love that we got teased of Summerhall. And we kind of get teased about Aerion's fate, because he thinks spoilers if you don't want to know his fate, but we get spoilers. I know his fate, because I did a bunch of outside research where he thinks he's a dragon, so he swallows a bunch of wildfire to become a dragon, and then boom, he just dies. I think it's really, really funny. But I do like that we got the spoilers of Summerhall, because that was really, really fun. Because Summerhall is one of the only things I want to know more about, because we barely know anything. We know someone wanted to bring back the dragons. We know almost all the Targaryens were there. We know wildfire was involved. And we know, like, a big explosion happened and a lot of people died. Like, we really don't know much about what happened. We don't know whose idea it was. We don't know, like, what in actuality they were actually trying to do. We don't know so much about what happened at Summerhall. And I want to know more, because Summerhall is just so interesting. So, I don't know. I'm very, very interested in that. So I am actually looking forward to the second season. I want to know how they change it. But I also want to know if they keep it as close as they have been. But I don't know how they're going to be able to with Maker being like, I don't know, my son's leaving. And he's obviously going to send people after them. Which I don't like. I want them to have just a happy, like, go-lucky adventure. But, I'm annoyed that Makar didn't just send them with his permission. Maybe that will be like what the first episode's about. He'll find them and then give them his permission. But I don't know. Well, if you liked this, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any like more like ideas like this, where it's a show and a book, please, or like a movie, please give me some more down below, because I actually really like this. It was really fun. But like, comment, and subscribe, everyone. Bye.